how to do things with TikTok Studio yet. I am still learning that she is. But good morning if you are joining us. We're doing a non-believers Bible study this morning. I will be reading from the New Revised Standard Version. It is not the updated edition, but it is a very good edition. So yeah, give me a second for some of my friends to pop in and we'll get started in Exodus chapter 13. Let's see. Need to go to your channel. Just trying to be able to watch the old YouTube too. Thank you for joining me. DC, I hope you're coming up this morning. I want to watch my live on YouTube, but for some reason I can't. Trying to figure this stuff out the best I can. Oh. Okay, wait. There we go. There we go. Now I can watch. Oop, did I put that in front of the camera? Sorry, guys. Now I can watch the YouTube stream. Watch you guys. Thank you for sharing it out. Thank you for being here this morning, you guys. Let's start tapping this screen. Let's start, doing all the good things. Yeah, I did cover up the camera for a minute. Sorry about that. And once we get some of my crew in here, we'll get started. Dagda, good morning. Are you going to come on up? I'm drinking out of my I'm a dumpling mug because I'm a dumpling, like Dump the Bible with Joel Reed's Bible. Isn't that the cutest mug ever? Good morning, Deconstruct with me. How are you?
Good morning, Crystal. I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing well. I almost forgot it was a Bible study, even though I said it. I said it in my channel, and then I was sitting around, just enjoying the old TikTok streams. And then I was like, oh, wait, I'm supposed to do something this morning. Nick is here.
I was about to message you and see if we were doing it.
Yeah. So we're going to be on Exodus 13 this morning. Why aren't my multi-guest requests coming up? If you're oh, there we go. There we go. Now I can see him. I'm still learning TikTok Studio. It's a little weird. Like, some of the things are intuitive on it, and some of it's just like, what? What am I supposed to do here, or how do I do this? Good morning, everybody.
But I will be right back.
Okay.
I need to refill on my coffee in the worst way.
Oh, so. Hey, I understand that. Coffee is imperative. I'm going to plug my phone in. Good morning, April. How are you out in YouTube land? I'm going to plug.
This is going to be such a fun chapter.
Did I do something? Can you guys hear me? Wait, something happened.
I heard something, but we can still hear you.
Okay, you can, and I can hear you. Okay, something. I think it was just that I plugged in my phone, and my computer made a noise, and
it sounded like Discord.
Yeah, so I was like, what? But I don't have Discord open, so I don't think it's out. Okay, I think it was just that I plugged in my phone, and it made the little ding. So this is a fun chapter, huh? Okay, I'm going to believe you. I'm going to have to believe that. I don't know. So I get my surgery on Monday for my rotator cuff. And I have to have one of those pillows that holds your arm stiff and out away from you or whatever. And I have to learn how to do all of this with my left hand because I still want to stream. I'm going to be with that pillow for 6 weeks.
Ooh, yeah, I had shoulder surgery in 2016, 17. Yeah, recovery was tough.
Yeah, so Hey, so when you had shoulder surgery and you were recovering, did you still go do stuff, or where? Because like my doctor made it seem like don't do anything, because if somebody bumps you, you know, it can screw it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, for the first few days, I didn't do anything. Just laid on the couch.
Because
But then I got stir crazy and had to
You
get
did.
out and do something.
and like did you get worried? Because like I kind of want to still be able to go grocery shopping or whatever, but then again, people are stupid. If they bump into me, that could screw everything up, and I don't know.
Yeah, just be careful. I'll be honest with you, the worst thing is going to be your first PT.
Yeah, he said that I can't. Okay, so for my uncle, he did the same surgery, rotator cuff surgery, and 3 weeks in, they started his PT. My doctor's like, nope, you can't start it until 6 weeks.
Oh, wow. So I didn't have a rotator cuff. I had like bone spurs removed, and I had to start PT the next day.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he's
It
like,
was so,
nope.
so painful.
He said, you're going to be really stiff. But he did some kind of movement test on me, and he was like, well, you know, you look like you have a lot of movement right now, which is really good. That means your recovery should be very good. So hopefully, cross my
Yeah, that's
fingers.
good. Yeah, I need to have the other one worked on now, but I'm putting it off.
Okay, Dagda, you're up here, though, right? No, you're not? Wait, you're not up here. Why did it cancel you? Let me see if I can invite you.
I see Dagda.
Oh,
He's
okay.
right below me.
Oh, okay, you are up there. Okay.
Kind of weird.
Okay, you are there. You guys, I'm old, I'm tired. This newfangled technology is just getting to the deaconess. I can't handle it.
You are so high tech now. Crazy.
All right, I am going to go ahead and start reading.
No, we're definitely going to want to make sure Nick is here.
Oh, okay, all right. We'll wait for Nick then. Okay.
I'm here.
Okay, you're here? Okay, all right. We're going to start reading chapter 13 in Exodus. I like to read about a paragraph at a time, and then you guys give me your input. Don't leave me hanging, you guys. Bert's not here. Did anybody share this out to Bert? Because I don't know how to share. Oh, wait. That's how I
did.
share. Okay, you did? I don't know if he can make it this morning or not, but...
I don't know if he's still in Spain or not. When were they?
Oh, I didn't know he was in Spain. Ooh la la.
Yeah, it's some kind of a school field trip thing that he's chauffeuring for. Not chauffeuring.
There's Lucas. Hi, Lucas.
I saw him in somebody's chat yesterday.
Yeah, he chats between their trips and stuff, or their touring. But I don't know when they get back.
All right, well, we're going to start in Exodus 13. And mods, if you see a friendly who wants to come up, go ahead and bring them up automatically for me. I do not take ops on Bible Study Day. It is for us, the non-believers, not a debate. So just only bring up friendlies, okay?
And I accidentally shared it with Rasul.
He's gonna love it. Okay. The Lord said to Moses, consecrate to me all the firstborn, whatever's the first to open the womb among the Israelites of human beings and animals is mine. What? Human sacrifice, you say? This can't be. So that's the very first little paragraph there. Any comments?
You can go ahead, Nick.
Well, does consecrate mean sacrifice?
Nick, you want to answer questions?
Because I always interpret it as dedicating.
Let me Google.
Well, because when you get further into Exodus, there is passages of infant sacrifice that he demands from his people. It's a lot of the firstborn. Consecrate. Let me see what it's in context with for this specific passage, though. Oh, because it could be a dedication. Let me just double check. I got the wrong Bible open. Why not?
I'm going to Google it really quick. The word is Kadesh, derived from the root word Kadesh, which means to set apart, to sanctify, or to make holy. This is in the PL intensive form, meaning it emphasizes the act of making something holy or dedicating it for sacred purposes. In the context of Exodus 13:1 and 2, God commands the consecration of the firstborn, setting them apart as belonging to Him.
Yeah, it says the law consecrate Israel's human and animal firstborn is juxtaposed with the slaying of Egypt's firstborn. It says compare. Oh, hold on a minute. Hold on just a minute. 34.
Why? No.
18. No, that's okay.
You guys, while we're looking this up, please, if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're on TikTok, please share out the live. Start tapping your screen. We need to get to 5,000 likes as quickly as possible. And make sure you share this out with people. Send gifts up. Do I have a gift goal? I don't even know if I do. And do all the good things.
You know what? It is child sacrifice because it takes you to 34. 19, but that also goes in hand with Exodus. Exodus 22 as well. So, which is you must give me the firstborn of your sons. Do the same with your cattle and your sheeple. What we see in Exodus 34 is basically a renegotiation of text because they realized they done screwed up and realized, oh no, we made it look like God's demanding infant sacrifice, which he was, so they had to fix it. But then it's also backed up by Ezekiel. So if the SBL is referencing to that, then yes, it would mean it's talking about sacrifice. And that's why it's doing a comparison to the children of Egypt. And of course, because we did discuss this in length on a different live, when it talks about the firstborn, it is talking about the males only.
Well, that's
okay.
kind of good. Like, at least we didn't have to die.
Yeah, right.
We got a break on that one. Okay, I set a new gift goal. The gift goal are now just 1 coin each. Sorry about that. That was left over from last night. And so, sorry about that. You guys, my cats dig my green screen so much. And they screw with it all the time. And it screws up my graphic. Little POSFFs. I think I'm doing it wrong. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, well, there's that weird thing on my graphic. Oh, well. Okay. All right. So we're saying this was sacrifice unless one of the rabbis wants to show up and tell us we're wrong.
Yeah, because the SBL, like what it says exactly is the law to consecrate Israel's human and animal firstborn is juxtaposed with the slaying of Egypt's firstborn. Compare with 34:18 through 20, and in 19 is the whole you can redeem, but it was a renegotiation of chapter 22. So yeah, it is talking about the law of the firstborn with this infant sacrifice.
I'm going to look up one more thing and see if I can get... one more thing. Sorry. Okay, this is what This is what I looked up when I looked up on Dr. Joshua Bowen's. I'm just going to read it because I haven't read it yet. Dr. Joshua Bowen has discussed the concept of Exodus 13:1 and its implications regarding the consecration of the firstborn, particularly in the context of human sacrifice. Exodus 13:1-2 involves the consecration of the firstborn to God, with the firstborn of both humans and animals being set apart as holy. The passage doesn't directly instruct human sacrifice, but it does suggest that the firstborns were to be consecrated to God, which in ancient Israel meant either being redeemed or sacrificed. Human firstborn, in the case of human firstborn, the initial law in Exodus 13 mandates that they are to be redeemed by offering a lamb as a sacrifice, Exodus 13:13. This redemption process is understood as buying back the firstborn from God, who has claimed them. The child would not be sacrificed, but would instead be redeemed through this ritual. Animal firstborn, the firstborn of clean animals, were to be offered as sacrifices, according to Exodus 13:12. If an animal was not clean, like a donkey, it would either be redeemed with a lamb or put to death. Dr. Bowen, as a scholar of ancient texts and religious history, has explained that while Exodus 13 involves a form of ritual dedication, it doesn't explicitly mandate human sacrifice in the way that some might interpret it. Instead, he highlights several key points. Cultural context of sacrifice. In the broader ancient Near East context, the concept of dedicating the firstborn to God was not unique to Israel. Many cultures practice similar forms of sacred devotion where the firstborn, whether human or animal, would be consecrated to their deity. Human sacrifice, however, was typically avoided in Israel, as evidenced by the redemption of the firstborn through the sacrifice of animals, according to Exodus 13:13. Theological shift. In ancient Israel and in ancient Israelite thought, the firstborn held special significance, often seen as representing the family or the nation. Over time, practices like human sacrifice became more taboo in Israel, and the redemption ritual became the more common practice. While the original law called for the firstborn to be consecrated, it was understood as being redeemed through substitution, a lamb in the case of the firstborn son. God's claim on the firstborn. Dr. Bowen may point out that the passage reflects the theological idea that all life, especially that which is spared by God, as in the case of the firstborn during the Passover, belongs to God. The consecration of the firstborn in Exodus 13 symbolizes Israel's acknowledgement of God's sovereignty, especially after the Passover event, where God spared the firstborn of Israel. Critical view of human sacrifice. While some scholars have raised questions about whether the practice of child sacrifice existed, we know it did, in early Israelite culture influenced by practices in surrounding nations, Dr. Bowen would likely argue that the Bible ultimately, no, he wouldn't. I'm not even going to read the rest. That's all speculation because I've talked to him. He would not say that they moved away from it completely. So not gonna read that part.
I find it odd that they conveniently leave out the Ezekiel passage when God's recounting of what he did.
Yeah.
And full on states that he can do it.
And it could just be that Dr. Bowen hasn't actually, that's not searchable for me on the internet of something that he would say, because obviously they don't have his entire books out there for us to, pick or whatever. But okay.
I will say I haven't read Dr. Bowen's books, but I've heard him talk with Kip about it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys know who Dr. Kip is.
Yeah.
And they pretty much said that we have proof.
Yeah.
Pretty much proof that there was child sacrifice happening.
Oh yeah.
And they were saying that even if Ezekiel, even if they didn't, right? Even if their interpretation was true, right? Ezekiel shows us that there were people at the time who interpreted that as child sacrifice, and they weren't comfortable with it.
It's also in the rabbinic literature as well. The record of child sacrifice is maintained in the rabbinic literature by discussing the various fasts that would have to take place if the rains didn't come at the appointed times. And so, and by the way, the child sacrifice is largely in response to the fact that they didn't have enough food to support the mouths to feed, so to speak. So in other words, it was a mercy unaliving as opposed to a ritualizing. Like, we might call it child sacrifice, but in reality, it was the fact that there weren't enough calories to actually sustain the population because of either too much rain or too little rain.
Correct. And who was it? Rabbi Hana? Maybe somebody. It was a scholar. I can't remember who. It might have been Dr. Bowen as well. Also explained that it might not be this specific, grouping of Adonai followers, but infant sacrifice was common also because they felt that if they sacrificed one to the gods, the others would be blessed, because the unalignment rates of children was so high that they felt that they were giving the living ones a better chance. I wish I remember who told me that. It was an academic source thing. But...
And we're going to go back to child sacrifice in this chapter too.
So what our main question here, Bert, is, in case you're wondering, is the word consecrate in Exodus 13:1 literally speaking of sacrifice, or is it redeeming?
No, it's kadeshli, which means sanctify or separate. It's the same root as kadosh, or holy. You could say make holy for me. And holiness in the Torah, in the context of the Torah, is to separate from, to make distinct from. Yeah.
So it doesn't mean to sacrifice necessarily in this context.
Correct. It's
okay.
not. It is adjacent to sacrificial language, but it is not. It is not sacrificial language. Yeah. Like,
okay.
Here's the connection. When you select an animal to sacrifice, you do use the word kadosh to select that animal. In other words, and by the way, the same language is used when betrothal happens. It is the same word. It's an agrarian term to separate from the flock, to make. And by the way, that's in the Christian sense. When Jesus was put in a manger, the manger is not a cradle. It is literally the bin that you put the animal that is decidedly going to be sacrificed.
Oh.
You separate that animal and you put it into this container, and this is the one that you're going to sacrifice. But people don't know that because it's an idiom. It's a, yeah.
So basically to set aside for possible future sacrifice.
Yeah, to set aside for a distinct purpose. It doesn't necessarily have to be sacrificed, but it is to distinguish it from the others.
Okay.
I don't know why you're not connecting. Dagda, I'm going to disconnect you and then request up again, okay? For some reason, it was just spinning. Okay. So that was literally just the first verse.
First and second verse, yeah.
First and second verse, I guess.
Really quickly, my question would be, though, where were they setting them aside to? Who was taking care of them? Because we're talking about newborns here, like 8 days old. They were being taken away from their mothers. I mean,
the animals or the person?
Both. And we know
Well,
that.
So it's not that. Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, so so there is a sacrifice that's made, by the way, for humans. Because when they're saying firstborn, they're not saying firstborn child. It's the first male born. And so what happens to the first male born baby on its 8th day?
A circumcision.
Mm-hmm.
They cut
them. And a little off the top. Yeah. But that's true of any male. Not male, any son.
But it's also talking about animals at the same time, too. So were they circumcising the animals?
No, but the 8th day is when the animal is prepared to be is eligible for sacrifice.
Okay. So I guess I'm just confused because, so in this specific passage, they're giving the children back, but not when it comes to Ezekiel 22.
Yeah, it's called Pidyon Haben. You kind of started talking about it, but redemption of the first son, redemption of the son, and like it uses sacrificial language to intensify the. This is it's hard to exactly explain, but it is an agricultural sort of practice of like it goes. Let me think about the best way to explain this for a minute. And keep going, and if I think of
Okay, while you're thinking of that, I'm going to just do a quick commercial break. Hey, you guys, thank you for joining us. I know that Bible study is a little bit smaller group, and that's cool. We like that. But if you could please keep tapping that screen, get me to 5,000 likes as quickly as possible, and also share out the live. I need to get to 100 shares, usually within the first 15 minutes, in order to be bumped out into the FYP. And so, and when you guys get me bumped out into the FYP, it not only helps me for this live, but it helps me for my future lives. And I'll be going live again Friday night with Cyber Deconstruction for Decon Q&A with CrystalJae. So helping me with the sharing, with the liking, with all of that it just helps me overall. You're supporting my my shows, and I appreciate that so much. So I can do more of them, and the more you support me. Okay.
I think I've got it.
Okay.
Quickly.
You go right ahead.
It is sacrifice, but it's not unalivement sacrifice. In other words, like, what is sacrifice? Sacrifice is giving something up. What is given up for the firstborn male? It is this redemption process, either the financial or the donkey's neck, as grotesque as that might seem. And also the circumcision is a form of sacrifice. It is so barbaric so as to replace child sacrifice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It actually does. So the sacrifice is a couplefold. Like you could sacrifice, like in Exodus, I guess like 13:13 or something like that. It talks about this, redeeming them with a lamb, but also the circumcision in and of itself is a sacrifice.
Exactly.
Like when we talked about Zipporah and Moses, when she went and made the sacrifice with her son. Okay. Alrighty. I gotcha. Okay. Moses said to the people, "Remember this day on which you came out of Egypt, out of the house of slavery, because the Lord brought you out from there by strength of hand. No leavened bread shall be eaten. Today in the month of Abib, you are going out. When the Lord brings you into the land of Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which we swore to your ancestors to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, you shall keep this observance in this month. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the seventh day there shall be a festival to the Lord. Unleavened bread shall be eaten for 7 days. No leavened bread shall be seen in your possession, and no leaven shall be seen among you in all your territory. You shall tell your child on that day, it is because of what the Lord did for me when I came out of Egypt. It shall serve for you as a sign on your hand and as a reminder on your forehead, so that the teaching of the Lord may be on your lips. For with strong hand the Lord brought you out of Egypt. You shall keep this ordinance at its proper time from year to year." Why does God hate yeast? Why?
So the idea of yeast, first of all, it's the bread of affliction. It's the bread of poverty. It's the bread of affliction and the bread of poverty. And the idea is that this is Passover, by the way, what is being discussed here. And the idea is to maintain the memory of oppression. Remember what it is like to be oppressed so that you might be that you might relate to those who are still oppressed and feel this drive to end oppression.
Okay, I find this very ironic. I think that could be the wrong word, but whatever word that this is to remind them of oppression, and then they're going to go take slaves.
So I think, yeah, it's an interesting issue, and I think the question ultimately is, how does it all play out, right? So while you have this seemingly contradictory text in Leviticus 25:46, the question is, what does the practice end up looking like? And I would argue, and you've heard me argue this before on other lives, that the Leviticus text is more about the experience of living under the oppression of the Babylonian exile and saying this is what we would do, if the roles were reversed, which is still ironic, juxtaposed with this text, versus what is the experience of Israel, and yeah.
Anybody else have anything that DC deconstruct with me? Oh, Dagda, anybody?
No, not at all. I'm in between listening to this and trying to do schoolwork.
Okay. Okay, you guys, keep tapping that screen. We are so close to 5,000. And don't forget I have a gift goal, and they're only 1 coin each. All right. The consecration of the firstborn, verse 11.
Can I make a few other comments
Oh,
about this
Bert,
as well?
I love it when you make comments. Please make all of them.
Okay. So first of all, verse 3, this is a central verse in Judaism. This is when we make Kiddush on Shabbat, when we make the blessing over the wine on Shabbat, we are told to remember the Exodus from Egypt and remember creation. The reason is to remember creation is the universalist, that we are all part of this existence. And to remember the Exodus from Egypt is to remember the unique experience of Judaism, essentially. And like I was saying, this leavened bread piece, it's so, I think, I gotta, ask more rabbis how they, because we essentially, do not regard Leviticus 25:46 as, in any way, shape, or form, people are not aware of that text. What is central is redemption and freedom. It is so central to Judaism that that Passover is one of the 3 central holidays for Israel. So anyway, and then verse 5, the land flowing with milk and honey. The honey is not bee honey. It is date honey that is being discussed there. It's a fun fact.
Okay, wait, say that again? What?
Yeah, the honey of milk and honey is not bee honey. It's not honey from a beehive.
Where's
honey
it from?
From pressed dates.
Oh, I didn't even know they called that honey.
Yeah.
That's so
Svash
cool.
Yeah.
I hate dates. I know, just a
Way
little
to
bit
be
back.
positive.
I just hate dates, actually. Yeah, I don't like dates or figs. I'm afraid of, that I'm going to be eating a bug.
Especially with the figs.
Yeah, the figs for
figs
sure.
Especially the figs.
But dates, for some reason, remind me of that, and it's I can't do it.
I'll give you one fun fact about dates that might adjust maybe a little bit of a disposition towards dates.
Okay.
So all the dates that are grown in Palestine and all the dates that are grown in Israel are all put into one distributing company. And then, in other words, they all, it doesn't matter where the dates are grown, they're all distributed. They're all mixed together. It's this, almost like a hopeful sort of commentary on everything that's going on over there. And you might see a box that says Palestinian dates, and you might see a box that says Israeli dates. But in reality, you're going to have a mixture of the dates that come from, the West Bank versus the dates that come from Israel. And so something I think beautiful about that.
That is kind of cool.
Transcends the bullshit.
Yeah, transcends the bullshit that's going on over there. Okay. Anything
One more
else?
thing. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no.
Yes, one last.
Go on.
Okay, so during the Passover Seder, there's a tradition of asking questions and questioning things. And so to demonstrate that, there are 4 sons that you can say 4 children that ask questions. There's the wise child that knows, there's the wise child, there's the simple child, there's the evil child, and then there's a child that doesn't know enough to ask. And so verse 8 is the rabbis see this verse and then create a child based on this verse. And you shall explain to your child on that day it is because of what Adonai did for me when I went free from Egypt, which is to say this is the simple child that the child doesn't know enough to ask. Sorry, the child that doesn't know enough to ask. You're going to explain to them without them asking you. And there's other verses where a child asks you, why are we doing this practice? Anyway, and one last thing I promise. Serve as a sign on your hand and a reminder on your forehead is tefillin. If you give me a second, I'll put on my tefillin so you can see.
Oh, yeah, I would love to see that. I will be sharing this, but only the people on TikTok will be able to see because I have to do this whole thing to make it so YouTube and Twitch can see you guys. And I haven't done it yet because it's another piece of technology you guys are making me learn. There's only so much a 58-year-old brain can handle. I'm just telling you. Hey,
You do great with it.
oh, thank you. Hey, Spencer, how are you today? We're in Exodus chapter 13, Spencer, if you want to follow along. I think I did a pretty good job learning all this, huh? I did all right.
Do you like my prayer unicorn horn?
Oh, let me make you big. I'm still learning all this. Okay, there we go.
So this is the Rosh tefillin. It has 4 compartments. It's made out of leather. It has 4 scrolls from various texts. But anyway, this is what it's referring to. And then there's another one that goes on the arm. I'm not going to put it on right now because it takes a lot to put it on. But yeah, this is that's what it's talking about. Well, I'll say this is the rabbinic interpretation of what it's talking about.
That's pretty cool. Very cool.
I think so.
I don't remember how to do anything. Okay, wait. There we go. Okay, okay, so the weird thing that I pick up because of, the Christian lens is in Revelation, the mark of the beast is on your right hand or your forehead.
It's on the hand too.
Yeah, it's either your right hand, but if you don't have a right hand, then it goes on your forehead.
I thought it was on the forehead. I didn't realize it was on the hand because I knew the forehead was like the mark of the beast was supposed to be the indentation from the Roman helmet.
Let me double check, but I'm pretty.
You're right, Crystal.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hand too.
Yeah.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, because and I always was like, when I was little, I was like, why does it say your hand or your forehead, Mom? And my mom said, because if you're an amputee, you're still going to have your forehead. Like everybody has their forehead, but otherwise it'll be on your right hand. So there were all these stories that in the future, like right now, like when I was a kid in 2025, we were supposed to have some kind of chip in our hand. And instead of having credit cards and stuff like that, you would just scan your hand. And now they're like,
We do have that at Amazon.
right? And now they're like, see, we scan our phones and our phones are in our hand. And you know, so I don't know.
We are in the end times.
We're in the end times. So
And we
anyway,
actually have the dude that's putting neural chips in brains in the White House collecting all of our data. So
and all
I
our
mean-
money, taking all our
Yeah.
money.
I scan my hand to check out at the grocery store. I scan my palm.
You do?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
At like Amazon Fresh and Whole Foods. I scan my palm.
That is so weird. I don't have that out here yet. And you know, I live in a small state with not a lot of technology. I live in California, so we just don't have stuff. I don't have it where I live anyway. It's probably in LA, but I don't live in LA. You guys, thank you for getting me to 5,000 likes. I really appreciate it. It really does help. Don't forget to gift your panelists, and don't forget I have a gift goal this morning of 666 like pet hearts. I don't know what it is. It's some new thing. All right, onward to the consecration of the firstborn, verse 11. When the Lord was brought you into, hang on. I need to read chat. Will Jesus pay for the genocide of American Indian people? David, I'm not a Christian. Is that not clear right up there? Like, can people not read that? I don't know why you're asking me that question. I'm not a Christian, David. When the Lord was brought you into the land of the Canaanites, as he swore to you and your ancestors, and has given it to you, you shall set apart to the Lord all that first opens the womb. All the firstborn of your livestock that are males shall be the Lord's. But every firstborn donkey you shall redeem with a sheep. If you do not redeem it, you must break its neck. Every firstborn male among your children you shall redeem. I'm sorry, you're going to hear an espresso machine going right now because my daughter's up making coffee. When in the future your child asks you, what does this mean? You shall answer, by strength of hand, the Lord brought us out of Egypt, from the house of slavery. When Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, the Lord killed all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from human firstborn to the firstborn of animals. Therefore, I sacrifice to the Lord every male that first opens the womb, but every firstborn of my sons I redeem. It shall serve as a sign on your hand and as an emblem on your forehead, that by strength of hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt. See, this would have been a really good place for Quill. Thanks for coming by. I really appreciate you. This would have been a really good place to be like, and this is why we will never enslave other people, because we remember. Like, I'm just saying.
It actually does say that at another point. Like, you shall. What does it say? Hold on. Like, you were once slaves in Egypt. Give me 1 second.
Yes, Gary, God did harden Pharaoh's heart. That's a true statement.
That was last week's Bible study.
Yeah,
Or
it
the
was.
week before, I can't remember. Which one
I
it
think it was last week. Last week. And now all our Bible studies will be on YouTube, and I'll make a playlist, but we won't have anything, very many of my Bible studies until Exodus 13, because I just didn't save them all. I just didn't do it.
That's okay. The OGs will have Genesis down.
Kitties want to play with my green screen. I think I'm gonna need to get like a wall so they can't play with it.
Wait, do you have an actual green screen?
Yeah, I have an actual green screen because
Oh, very cool.
when you're on OBS, like you can't use the TikTok Studio one because it doesn't pick it up. Stop.
Yeah, so Deuteronomy 24, 18 and 19. Remember that you were a slave in Egypt, that your God Adonai redeemed you from there. Therefore do I enjoin it to you to observe this commandment. When you reap the harvest in your field and overlook a sheep in the field, do not turn back to get it. It shall go to the stranger, the fatherless, the widow in order that Adonai your God may bless you in all your ways. Meaning, like, don't oppress the stranger is like the key piece there.
But then they do it anyway.
Do they do it?
Don't they take slaves from foreign nations?
I think it says, does it say that they actually take the slaves?
Well, I mean, it talks throughout the Bible
Says
how
you
to
may.
treat your slaves. So if you're not taking slaves, why would it tell me how to treat them?
Yeah. I don't know. It's so weird. It's such like a clearly contradictory tradition. And
Yeah.
like,
And I thought
Yeah.
God said you can acquire them from the nations around you.
Yeah.
yeah, totally. I mean, it's there. I'm like,
Yeah.
I think the question that I have is like, A, did it happen? And B, like, why is there this contradiction? Like, and does one outweigh the other, or like, how did it actually play out in history? I don't
Well,
know.
slaves played out in history. We know people took them. So that part we know did happen. Do we know for sure
The
that
question is Israel did.
Yeah, did ancient Israelites take them? And I don't know. I think that we would have to look at archaeology and stuff like that to find out what it says about whether they really took them. What I do know is that it's very consistent throughout the Bible that slaves existed, were used, and the Israelite people had them. I mean, we can just look at Jacob and his wives, right? And how they would use their slaves to bear children for him, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So the Bible
The
acts
other-
as those slaves were used.
Yeah, I think the issue that I'm taking though is that, like, to me, a large part of that is in conversation with the Babylonian experience. Like, and I just don't know how much of it is Israelite imagination versus. I guess it doesn't matter because they wrote it down. Like, that's like the ultimate point, is that like it doesn't end up mattering whether it is imaginary or not.
Yeah, and
Because
in
that's
fact,
not-
it isn't, because if, let's say, I were to write my life story, and I've never owned a slave, just to put that disclaimer out there, okay? I don't believe in slavery, do not condone slavery, nor have I ever owned a slave. But should I write an autobiography and say that I was a slave owner, and 100 years from now, people find it and they're like, oh, Crystal was a slave owner, that is the story I chose to tell about myself. Even if it wasn't true, I
Yeah, right.
obviously decided that was important enough in my belief system that I wanted people to think I was, and thought that it was okay with me, So, yeah.
I feel like it sounds like I'm defending this, and I really am not.
No, I know you, Bert, and I know that you're just like talking these things out, and I
Yeah.
think that I appreciate it. I hope everybody else does.
I appreciate
Chris,
the permission
yeah.
to do so. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, your point is spot on. This would have been a perfect spot to say, therefore, no man shall own another man. This would have been the perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would have ended all confusion.
They blew it.
Okay, the pillars of cloud and fire. When Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them by way of the land of the Philistines, although that was nearer, for God thought, if the people face war, they may change their minds and return to Egypt. So God led the people by the roundabout way of the wilderness toward the Red Sea. The Israelites
Does it
went
say Red
up.
Sea?
Yep, it does. Is it the reed?
Yeah, it's Sea of Reeds. Yeah,
I was gonna ask you. I was like, I gotta ask him if that's really the Red Sea. Okay. Oh, wait, I do have a notation in my book. Okay, I do have a notation and I have the New Revised Standard Edition, not the updated. And it says 1318 or Sea of Reeds. Okay, the Israelites went up out of the land of Egypt prepared for battle, and Moses took with him the bones of Joseph, who had required a solemn oath of the Israelites, saying, God will surely take notice of you. And then you must carry my bones with you from here. They set out from Succoth and camped at Etham. on the edge of the wilderness. The Lord went in front of them in a pillar of cloud by day to lead them along the way, and in a pillar of fire by night to give them light, so that they might travel by day and by night. Neither the pillar of cloud by day nor the pillar of fire by night left its place in front of the people. Now this one I'm going to need somebody to tell me, because I don't know what we're talking about here.
So really quickly, there's an app in Israel where you can, it's all of the hiking trails that exist in Israel. And it's called Amud Anan, which means pillar of cloud. So the app is called, the app that guides you through the Israeli wilderness is called Pillar of Cloud.
Okay, what?
Okay,
Wait,
so there's a hiking app for
Really?
the trails that exist in Israel, and the app is called Amud Anan, which means pillar of cloud. In
oh
other
wow,
words, the app is the guide through the wilderness sort of thing.
that's
in the
wild.
modern.
Why are they taking his bones?
Yeah, so first of all, Joseph asked for that to be the case. It was like in his last will and testament sort of thing. Like, don't forget my bones when you go. And so they're honoring Joseph's wishes.
Yeah,
Okay.
footnote says see Genesis 50:25.
Oh, okay. Mine doesn't have that little footnote on mine. So, okay. And why did he want his bones taken with him? Why? Why are these bones important?
Well, he wanted to go to Israel. He wanted to have his bones in Israel. You're asking why is that?
Yeah.
Didn't he ask to be in Canaan? Or was it the Promised Land? I can't remember.
What does the citation say? 55?
I don't know. I don't have the citation. What is the citation, guys?
Somebody said there was.
I'm looking. Hold on.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was mute. 50:25.
Okay. It just says, but I'm at the time when to the land he promised on oath. So just a promised land.
Hey, EB. Hi, Kaizik. Hi, weirdo.
And then it said, and Joseph made the Israelites swear an oath and said, God will surely come to your aid, and then you must carry up my bones from this place. So they were already called Israelites before they were.
Yeah, because they were the sons of Israel. That's what it says. So Joseph made the sons of Israel, Bnei Yisrael, which is the 12 sons, 13 sons.
Okay, so that's so weird. Okay. So when he says he's talking to the Israelites, he's talking to his sons.
Yes. It doesn't say Israelites in the Hebrew. It says Bnei Yisrael, sons of Israel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I didn't realize I was using the NIV.
Oh, that's a choice.
DC,
Huh?
the same thing with me. I was like, wait, I think the default is the NIV. Because when I opened it up, it went to the NIV. I thought it was in the NRSV.
It usually is for me as soon as I get on it, but I guess for some reason it didn't do it.
It's a conspiracy.
Okay.
But what's interesting is in 14 verse 2, it says Daber Bnei Daber El Bnei Yisrael, and that is, and then in my translation it says tell the Israelites. So to keep it consistent, for goodness sake.
Yeah, even in the new Revised Standard Version Updated Edition, it says, so Joseph made the Israelites swear.
Yeah, in Genesis, I think what they're saying is, contextually, Joseph is literally speaking to the sons of Jacob. Right? So, like, the difference between Israelites and the sons of Jacob, like, in this scene at the end of Genesis, it's literally the 12 people standing in front of Joseph. Whereas in, let's say, Exodus 14:2, it's saying, like, the nation of Israel, the people of Israel. It's not saying the 12 sons, it's saying the 12 tribes. Using using the same verbiage.
Thank you, The Life Beyond Belief, for your compliment. I'm arguing with somebody on YouTube in case you guys wonder why I'm kind of distracted.
Are you? I need to go look.
I was like, I'm done with this.
Oh my gosh, they have so many comments on here.
They do. Go argue with them for me, okay?
Okay.
I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, he's just going on and on about what a stupid worldview I have because I'm in the minority. I'm in the minority, so my worldview doesn't count as an atheist. Okay. Okay. We are going on.
I think being atheist is weird, and you said, I think having an imaginary friend is weird.
Yes, I did say that. And then he was like, well, that is a horrible way to think about God, or something like that. Oh, yeah, whatever. It's the way, it's truth. I can't help it. Okay. Crossing the Red Sea, which, as we now know, is actually the Reed Sea, right? Yeah. Okay. Then the Lord said to Moses, tell the Israelites to turn back and camp in front of No, I'm just kidding. I don't know how to say that name. I don't know how to say that. Bert, say it for me.
Pi-hahirot.
Thank you. Okay. Between Migdol and the sea, in front of Baal Zephon, you shall camp opposite it by the sea. Pharaoh will say of the Israelites, they are wandering aimlessly in the land. The wilderness has closed in on them. I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he will pursue them, so that I will gain glory for myself over Pharaoh and all his army. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, and they did so. So, this right here is another good place to show that God is actually hardening Pharaoh's heart, and he's telling you why. So when people say, no, Pharaoh hardened his heart, they're literally, they're making God impotent. They're weakening their God so much by saying that he couldn't do that for whatever, because free will, right? He tells you that he did it, and he tells you why, so that I will gain glory for myself over Pharaoh.
So, just to be clear, though, for the first 5 plagues while they were in Egypt, Pharaoh hardened his own heart. And for the second 5 plagues, God hardened Pharaoh's heart. In other words, God picked up the reins.
Yeah. But God did it. And God took away his free will. Yeah. And he did it for a reason, to show his power. He was flexing. He's like, look what I can do.
Yeah, and especially if Pharaoh was claiming to be a god, gotta put that to rest.
Absolutely. Anybody else have any commentary or questions or anything here? Nope. Okay. When the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, the minds of Pharaoh and his officials were changed toward the people, and they said, what have we done, letting Israel leave our service? So he had his chariot made ready and took his army with him. He took 600 picked chariots and all the other chariots of Egypt with officers over all of them. The Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued the Israelites, who were going out boldly. The Egyptians pursued them, all Pharaoh's horses and chariots, his chariot drivers and his armies. They overtook them, camped by the sea by... Go ahead and say it, Bert. That's the same word.
The sea, Baal Zephon.
No, the
Pi-hahirot. The mouth of
Pi-hahirot.
Yeah, P means mouth, which is a weird thing to say out loud. And then
In front of Baal Zephon. Okay, any commentary here or questions?
none. No.
Nope. Anybody?
Oh, I do
I
want to
think
say one
it's-
thing. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, just that, like it's when it says, I don't. What is your translation say? 14:1.
14:1, it says, Then the Lord said to Moses,
That's all it says.
yeah, and then 2 is tell the Israelites to turn back.
Interesting. Well, so it's interesting. Like in Hebrew, it says "Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe lemor," and so this phrasing is something that's meant to be repeated. So it should read, "And Adonai said to Moses, saying," or "to say," such that Moses would say. So in other words, and then it says, "Tell the Israelites to turn back." Right. So it's like there's this phrase that is introducing something that's meant to be repeated to Israel. Like the idea of Moses being messenger. Like there's some things that are directed directly towards Moses, and there's some things that Moses is meant to relay and repeat.
Okay.
Just anyway.
And is there a way that you distinguish that?
Well, I mean, it should say it in the translation.
But it doesn't. For me,
Right. And
anyway.
I think that's a really important distinction. When it's not that, I'll point it out next time.
Okay, maybe
When
it's
it
also...
says tell, sorry, Chris.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna ask Bert, when it says tell the Israelites to do something, would that be a key indicator?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
so in
So,
2, it says that. It says, then the Lord said to Moses, tell the Israelites to turn back. So in 2, it says it. In 1, it doesn't.
Right, exactly. Daber el bnei Israel, and then you shall go and say to the children of Israel, Israelites.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey,
And the other thing I
Darren.
wanted to say. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just
The
saying
other
hi
thing
to
I was
Darren.
wanting- You're great. The other thing I was going to say too is like it's funny to me when it says the Egyptians looked at each other and they were like, "What did we do? We let our servants go." But also at the same time, Pharaoh's heart was hardened by God. Like what was the reason for Pharaoh leaving? Because like it gives us 2 reasons. It gives us the reason why like the Egyptians were going to him going, "Why did you let our servants leave like this?"
That's true.
And that's when he went and got the chariots. But then it also says the Lord hardened his heart. So he pursued them.
So maybe God hardened his heart by making him think, why did we let our servants go? Like that is what he did. He was like,
Right?
question yourself here about this,
Maybe the Pharaoh's heart wasn't totally flaccid.
Maybe.
And you know what I mean? It was already halfway hard.
Yeah, that could be. Okay. By the way, if any of you are wondering, all of this story is backed up by the fact that we have found chariots in the Red Sea. Okay, so this is all 100% accurate.
Crystal.
I'm sorry. I just, had to throw a little Wyatt in there. Wasn't it Ron Wyatt? Yeah. Ron Wyatt, right?
Yeah.
Okay. As Pharaoh drew near, the Israelites looked back, and there were the Egyptians advancing on them. In great fear, the Israelites cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you have taken us away to die in the wilderness? What have you done to us, bringing us out of Egypt? Is this not the very thing we told you in Egypt? Let us alone and let us serve the Egyptians. For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness." But Moses said to the people, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm and see the deliverance that the Lord will accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall never see again. The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to keep still." When I read this story, it always reminds me of the Keith Green song, So You Want to Go Back to Egypt. Do you remember that song, DC?
What would Jesus think? What would people think? That song?
No, it goes,
Jesus
so you
first?
want to go back to Egypt where it's warm and secure. You want to, instead of being out here in the desert when you thought you were sure, you want to live in the land of promise, but now it's getting so hot. Are you sorry you're out here in the desert, still your own backyard, eating leeks and onions by the Nile? Okay, anyway, it was an old Keith Green
I
song.
love that song.
Oh my God, yes.
It was one of my favorites. I played that on repeat so much when I was a Christian.
The song I liked about it was Pharaoh, Pharaoh, oh baby, let my people go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All of Pharaoh's army did the dead man's float, singing, Pharaoh, Pharaoh. Oh yeah, baby, let my people go.
Good morning.
So, Crystal, as you're reading this,
Uh-huh.
I'm reminded of the apologetics that Christians use to justify slavery in the Bible.
Okay.
You know, when they take a land and kidnapping the women, they're like, oh, well, would you rather just them stay there and die? No, they need to be taken care of.
That's
You know,
true.
that's kind of what the Israelites were saying.
Yeah. And yet Moses was like, no, actually, it would be better that we die free. You know?
Exactly.
And
But this right here is what they use to justify that.
you know, darn it, you made me realize that these same Christians are often American, you know, red, white, and blue-blooded Americans who also love to say, give me liberty or give me death.
Unalignment.
So, how come it's good enough for you to want freedom or you would unalive, but when we tell you that those women would have rather be unalived, you're like, no, this is the best thing for them.
Yeah, they were taking care of them. It was good. They were nice.
Yeah, can somebody
EPM,
mute and block
EPD.
EPM for me, please?
It's going to be a long time before we're in 2 Corinthians.
Oh, I can mute him. Okay, now you're muted. All right. Okay. Let's see. We're in verse 15. Any other commentary or questions or anything for 10 through 14? Nope. All right. Then the Lord said to Moses, why do you cry out to me? Tell the Israelites to go forward, but you lift up your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it, that the Israelites may go into the sea and dry ground. Then I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians so that they will go in after them. And so I will gain glory for myself over Pharaoh and all his army, his chariots and his chariot drivers. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord when I have gained glory for myself over Pharaoh, his chariots and his chariot drivers. Yes, this is Exodus, Angel. We're in chapter 14 and I was just reading 15 through 18. Okay. Any commentary there?
I just want to say, I can imagine, like, looking at your, like, people that have been enslaving you and like, being harsh to you and your family, and then just having a power of authority just say, look at them right now. They're coming after you. You're not going to have to see them anymore. They're all going to be gone after this. I'm going to make sure they're all going to be gone. I can imagine that would be such a liberating feeling and such an experience that I couldn't even imagine, really.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing, why would he need to harden the hearts of the Egyptians? They were already coming after him.
Right?
Okay, so here's how I pictured this from my learnings from the esteemed Rabbi Bert, okay? Are we still, like, I'm taking it that these scriptures are still things you're supposed to sing, right, Bert?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So we're being repetitive a little bit because it's kind of like repeating a chorus or, a verse, so on, right?
Exactly.
So
And we're about to get to the song. Like, we are like seconds away from the song itself. And I would love to chant a little bit for you when we get.
Ooh, I would love it.
Ooh, that'd
Okay,
be
well,
great. So can we, one more thing, can we conclude that maybe God hardened the Egyptians' heart earlier in the chapter when they went to Pharaoh? And they're just repeating it now?
Like
Yeah,
a
I mean,
continuation of hardening.
It's a refrain, exactly. I think that's exactly how it should be read. That like this is all leading up to like the triumphant moment of God's power. Like that's like what it's all kind of leading up to. Exodus 15 is like the biggest moment in the Torah. It's like it's the whole deal.
okay.
Basically, if I can mansplain, it's getting harder and harder and harder until the climax.
Yes. The heart's just going to explode all over
Yes,
the
sir.
We need Mezzo to draw a picture of this. Anybody, can you guys share this out to Mezzo and ask him to bring his whiteboard, please? No.
The
Okay.
heart is so hard that it's about to explode. That's
Okay.
exactly what's happening.
I'm going to
Sorry.
read 15 through 18, and then you can chant it for us, okay? Does that work?
You mean chapter 15?
Oh, I thought you meant verse 15.
No, sorry, chapter 15.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get to 15 in a minute. Let's go ahead and finish up this chapter, and then when we get there, you tell me, okay? All right. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Why do you cry out to me? Tell the Israelites to..." Did I read that already? Yes, I did. We're on 19. I'm sorry. The angel of God who was going before the Israelite army moved and went behind them, and the pillar of cloud moved from the front of them and took its place behind them. It came between the army of Egypt and the army of Israel, and so the cloud was there with the darkness, and it lit up the night. One did not come near the other all night. Now, I'm just going to tell you, from a Christian lens, that cloud is the Holy Spirit, okay? But go on.
Yeah, it's true. Well, it is true. It's the kavod Adonai. It's the presence of God. The issue is, and what's cool, you can see it says Malach HaElohim, and I guarantee you the original text was just Elohim. In other words, take out the word messenger. Then God, who had been going ahead of the Israelite army, now moved and followed behind them. In other words, God is a general. So like in the ancient world, when the people were battling on earth, the gods were battling on high. And so the redactor of the text is steeply uncomfortable with a personified version of God doing this general behavior, like imagine General Washington fighting
Right.
with alongside of them, and so they have to use this separation, the angel to separate the being of God. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So
Oh, thank you,
is this a
Dagda.
Is this a proto angel of God? Or the angel of the
No,
Lord?
it exists. I mean, it's pretty much a lot of the times that you see like Malach Adonai, it's in the angel is inserted so as to create a little bit of distance between this personal God.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea. The Lord drove the sea back by a strong east wind all night and turned the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. The Israelites went into the sea on dry ground. The waters formed a wall for them on their right and on their left. The Egyptians pursued and went into the sea after them, all of Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and chariot drivers. At the morning watch, the Lord in the pillar of fire and cloud looked down upon the Egyptian army and threw the Egyptian army into panic. He clogged their chariot wheels so that they turned with difficulty. The Egyptians said, "Let us flee from the Israelites, for the Lord is fighting for them against Egypt." Now, I have a question here because I don't remember who I heard this from, whether it was and maybe it might not be in these verses, might be somewhere else, but I don't remember if it was Thinker or Joel or somebody, but I thought God used his nostrils to part the Red Sea for some reason.
It's in the song itself.
Oh.
So it's in chapter 15.
Okay, all right. I was like, I just really remember that. Anybody have any commentary questions here?
Yeah, for me, it says that the Lord drove the sea back by a strong east wind all night.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
didn't
it wasn't
happen
like just...
instantly.
And so, in my Prince of Egypt, I guess, probably influenced this. But I thought Moses, like, put the staff in the water, or he, like, raised the staff up or something, and all of a sudden the water split. But it didn't happen like that in the story, right?
Nope.
Here.
Big wind. Big, long wind.
And it took all night.
All night long.
All night. All night. Okay, I love me some Lionel. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. The pursuers drowned. God likes to drown people. That's such a sadistic way to unalive people. But let's go on. Then the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand over the sea so that the water may come back upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots and chariot drivers. So Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and at dawn the sea returned to its normal depth as the Egyptians fled before it. The Lord tossed the Egyptians into the sea. The waters returned and covered the chariots and the chariot drivers, followed them into the sea. Not one of them remained. But the Israelites walked on dry ground through the sea, the waters forming a wall for them on their right and on their left. Thus the Lord saved Israel that day from the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. Israel saw the great work that the Lord did against the Egyptians. So the people feared the Lord and believed in the Lord and in his servant Moses. DC, I have to ask you a question. When we're reading stuff like this, does the old street preacher ever start thinking of the things you would have said back then? Like, see, God will just divide your enemies and you will be able to walk on dry ground.
Yeah, be like, you'll see your enemies just unalived and you'll be able to rejoice. You know what I mean? Like,
and
really weird
God
shit.
provides you with that dry ground. He puts your foot there. Okay. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I could just picture you out there on the street preaching. Bert, what do you have for us on this?
Lots and lots, but it's all going to be repeated in the song in Exodus 15. But I want you also to see. Well, first of all, where was that? Oh yeah, 26, verse 26. Then Adonai said to Moses, "That's Vayomer Adonai El Moshe." That's the difference.
Okay.
Remember I said that Vaydaber Adonai El Moshe Lemor versus Vayomer. So like this is God speaking directly to Moses as opposed to something that Moses needs to repeat. Like this is an instruction for Moses. That's all.
Also, too, can you imagine being a Jewish person in Egypt telling this story?
Yeah.
That would be hard.
Never going to believe it.
Okay, do you want to go ahead and chant 15 and then we can go back over and read it?
Sure. Give me 1 second.
Okay,
I want to just show you how it looks in the Torah.
I'm going to bring you up on the big screen for people on TikTok.
So this is what it is. So this is how the Torah typically looks: one solid column after another. But if you look here, it's one. I almost wish I would have known we were reading this today. I would have literally opened up the physical Torah scroll in the sanctuary. But so it's these three columns. There's a column here, and then the column in the middle, and it's an artistic representation in the text itself of Israel walking through on dry land. And you may say to yourself, well, how do you really know that? Well, the bottom of this column says Hayam, which means the sea, and in the text, I can't really see it here. Oh, here. This is offset. This text right here should be in the middle, but the bottom of the column on the left says Hayam also. So it's Hayam over here, which means the sea on the right and the sea on the left. And then the bottom line of the column is Ubenei Yisrael hilchu b'yabasha b'toch, and the children of Israel walk through on dry land.
Wow, that's really cool.
That is very cool.
Very cool. Okay, so I'll chant a little bit for you.
Okay.
I'm going to do it with this. It's a little clearer. Az Yashir Moshe Ubenei Yisrael et hashira hazot l'Adonai vayomer lemor ashira l'Adonai ki ga'o ga'a, sus v'rachov bo, rama bayam. Ozi v'zimratya, vayili lishua, ze li ve'anvei, al Elohe avi va'aromenehu. Sorry. And then the key part here, by the way, if you remember from Prince of Egypt, Ashira ladonai ki ga'oga'a, right? That's that scene in Prince of Egypt.
Yeah.
And then mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. So mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehi lo dosefele. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's really cool.
Yay!
You
Yeah,
guys
that was wonderful.
put some
Y'all need
W's
to
in the
send
chat
some
for
gifts.
Bert. That was awesome. Okay, we're gonna read it now, and I will not be chanting. Okay. Oh, I could go. Then Moses and the Israelite. No, I don't know how to do that.
Yes.
Sing it, Crystal.
Then Moses and the Israelites sang this song to the Lord. I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. Horse and rider he has thrown into the sea. The Lord is my strength and my might, and he has become my salvation. This is my God, and I will praise him. My father's God, and I will exalt him. The Lord is a warrior. The Lord is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his army he cast into the sea. His picked officers were sunk into the Red Sea. The floods covered them. They went down into the depths like a stone. Your right hand, O Lord, glorious in power. Your right hand, O Lord, shattered the enemy. In the greatness of your majesty, you overthrew your adversaries. You sent out your fury. It consumed them like stubble. And the blast of your nostrils. Okay, here it is. The waters piled up. The floods stood up in a heap. The deeps congealed in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue. I will overtake. I will divide the spoil. My desire shall have its fill of them. I will draw my sword. My hand shall destroy them. You blew with your wind. The sea covered them. They sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you, O Lord, among the gods? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, doing wonders? You stretched out your hand, the earth swallowed them. In your steadfast love, you led the people whom you redeemed. You guided them by your strength to your holy abode. The people heard, they trembled, pangs seized inhabitants of Philistia. Then the chiefs of Edom were dismayed. Trembling seized the leaders of Moab. All the inhabitants of Canaan melted away. Terror and dread fell upon them. By the might of your arm, they became still as a stone until your people, O Lord, passed by. Until the people whom you acquire passed by, you brought them in and planted them on the mountain of your own possession. The place, O Lord, that you made your abode. The sanctuary, O Lord, that your hands have established. The Lord will reign forever and ever. When the horses of Pharaoh with his chariots and his chariot drivers went into the sea, the Lord brought back the waters of the sea upon them. But the Israelites walked through the sea on dry ground.
Amen.
Sounds better in Hebrew.
I just wanted to point out one other thing. Give me 1 second here. Can you see my screen here?
Let me make you
So
big.
this is called the Merneptah stele. It's the only extra biblical reference to Israel. It is from the 12th century in Egypt, and it reads like this: the princes are bowing low, saying peace. Not one is raising his head among the 9 bows. Now that Tehenu has become to ruin, Haiti is pacified. The Canaan has been plundered into every sort of woe. Ashkelon has been overcome. Gezer has been captured. Unoam is made non-existent. Israel is laid waste. His seed is not. Uru became a widow because of Egypt. It reads just like the Song of the Sea that we just read. It is, in my opinion, that the Song of the Sea and this Merneptah Stele are likely responding to maybe not the exact same event, but the same time period, which is the decline of Egypt and the rise of the Israelite Empire. The decline of Egypt left a power vacuum throughout the Levant, and this power vacuum is such a crucial moment of formation for Israel. If you look at here, this is a map showing Egypt's control over the Levant and these letters that Egypt was sending. And as Egypt began to falter, that's when Israel really takes off in a major way. So these are the standing stones at Tel Gezer, which is mentioned in the Merneptah Stele. And these 10 standing stones, archaeologists believe that there are these 10 tribes that came together. Not necessarily the tribes of Israel, but just demonstrating how a power vacuum allows for this sort of thing. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Gotta run.
You gotta go? Well, thank you, Bert, for joining us. I love it when Bert's here to give us his rabbinical input. So now, DC, you have to do everything, okay?
All right, I will try. Dagda's good. He's got my back. Jamie, I got some company.
No, I just was picking on you. No, we all work as a team and figure this all out together. Okay. One thing that so the reason I brought up about the nostril thing was, if you notice, like he says that at the blast of your nostrils, the waters piled up, the floods stood up in a heap, the deeps congealed. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just picturing boogers. Like, that just sounds gross.
That does sound gross.
That's gross. But I think that's just referring to the land being made dry.
Yeah, maybe.
I have to guess.
Just kind of sounds gross, that's all. I'm just saying. But here again, we have proof that there are chariots at the bottom of the Red Sea. I'm just saying.
I've seen the wheels.
This is another part where atheists like to point out that God was not like a God of peace. It literally says right here that he was a warrior. In chapter 15, verse 3, the Lord is a warrior, the Lord is his name. And if I'm not mistaken, the Lord in the New Revised Standard Version would actually mean Yahweh. Yahweh is a warrior, Yahweh is his name. That's correct, right? Whenever it says the Lord, it's Yahweh.
Yes.
Anything else? Anybody have any questions or anything else that they want to add on here?
I was curious. I was going to ask him if he was still here. What I would have asked Bert is if he thought the song was before the narrative. Like we know, like the oral traditions, this was mostly oral traditions before it was wrote down. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the song was actually the thing that was holding the story together more than the story itself. But I don't know.
That's a
I'm
good
going
question.
to assume that they created that song after they left, and then that was before it was all written down. So I'm going to assume the song was first.
Well, I mean, you said after they left, but we know it never actually happened, right?
Right.
Right. Contextually.
Right. So I'm saying, yeah, in the story, yeah, but I mean, and
I
it's
see
also
what you're saying.
yeah. And it's also me as a musician, I don't know, but I'm wondering how like songs have influenced our mythos. I don't know, like the chicken come before the egg, that kind of a thing. Like, did the story come before the song? I don't know. That was a question I had.
That's
and it
a
may be a
really
stupid
good question.
That is a really, really, really good question.
I think that you should put that in my channel, and then I'll tag Bert, or you could tag Bert on it. I would like to know that too. That's a really good question. Okay, so we're going to another song. This is called the Song of Miriam. Then the prophet Miriam Aaron's sister. What? A woman does something more than give birth? Okay, I'm sorry. Took a tambourine in her hand, and all the women went out after her with tambourines and with dancing. And Miriam sang to them, "Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. Horse and rider he has thrown into the sea." That was a really short song, Miriam.
Well, I mean, she only gives one line.
Hey, she was
Stand
the
over there
first
with your
female prophet.
tambourine.
We can't ask too much for the first female prophet.
True,
You know,
it's true.
she was a DEI hire.
Facts. Okay.
Oh, shit.
Then Moses ordered Israel to set out from the Red Sea, and they went into the wilderness of Shur. They went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. When they came to Marah, they could not drink the water of Marah because it was bitter. That is why it was called Marah. Let me see, I think, which means bitterness, okay? And the people complained against Moses, saying, "What shall we drink?" He cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a piece of wood. He threw it into the water, and the water became sweet. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
The thing that I get from bitter water from the Old Testament is it makes like goats and sheep horny, and it also will cause miscarriage.
Yeah,
And so, like, bitter water is so weird. It has such a weird thing
it is
in
weird.
the Old Testament.
That is very weird. There the Lord made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he put them to the test. He said, "If you will listen carefully to the voice of the Lord your God, and do what is right in his sight, and give heed to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will not bring upon you any of the diseases that I brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you." This is another reference again to the fact that they believed sin was directly a correlation with illness. You see what I'm saying? Because if you keep his statutes, you won't get disease. If you don't, you get disease. So people, this is why Christians to this day will tell people that their children have cancer because the parents sinned. And it's disgusting. It's really...
I mean, even at, like, whenever Jesus, whenever he healed that man, like, was he blind? And his disciples were, what did his parents do? Or what was his sin or his parents' sin to be born like this? Like, it's not anything new. And I think it's key because, like, if you think about it, nobody with disabilities or sickness was allowed in the temple.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, like, they were
unclean.
separated. Right. And so, like, the only way that you can rationalize this for them was to demonize it, to say, well, we blame them for their disability. And it was really, I mean, think about Bronze and Iron Age. It would be a hindrance to the society, really. They didn't have the means of technology to support someone with disabilities like we do today. And even today, we don't do a good job on it. Like, how many of us put alt text on our images that we post on, you know, Facebook or Instagram for people who are blind? You know what I mean? Or who have disabilities. And so there are things that we could do that are, you know, that our technology actually affords for those people, but we don't know about those things even. And so, I mean, just imagine about Bronze Age. So I feel like they just weren't able to handle that. The society wasn't able to handle sickness or disease. And so the best way they were able to do it was to blame them and say, we can't do anything for you, pretty much.
And also...
that was their only explanation for it because they didn't have any knowledge of anything medical, so that it had to be sin.
Angel says that you were speaking about the healing of Bartimaeus. Is that correct?
Yeah, the blind man.
Yeah. It was anytime Jesus healed you, he would also say, your sins are forgiven you. You are healed.
Yep.
He even said, is it easier to say your sins are forgiven or get up and walk?
Yeah.
You know, like, you're healed. And so, yeah, I mean, he even, in some implications, says that, you know, it's tied into sin.
Did you guys ever watch Ernest Angley?
Ernest Angley.
When I was a young girl, and Ernest Angley was always on television, and I remember. Now remember, I'm a Christian at this time, And I remember even as a young child, I thought, what is he talking about? Like, he would say the weirdest things to people. And so I used to do an impression of him. And my mom was a very serious person, like, pretty much. Like, she did not put up with shenanigans or anything like that. But for whatever reason, this would make her laugh so hard that she would cry. So I would do it a lot because I liked that reaction from her. I thought that was a great reaction from somebody who was a very serious person. But I would go, do your parents smoke, child? Because it would be like a person who couldn't speak, supposedly, okay? And he would go, do your parents smoke, child?
Oh, no.
And they would talk like that. And you could tell it was so fake. Like, so I'm not imitating somebody who actually has a disability right now. I'm imitating the fake people that worked for Ernest Angley. And they would go, and he would go, may the demon that possesses you to smoke come out, I say, come out. And I would be like, what? It was just so ridiculous. But I was like, why would my mother smoking affect my health? And I didn't mean in secondhand smoke wise. I meant, why would God punish me with an illness because my mother smokes? Like, I never understood that. Even as a child, none of that made sense to me. So I tell people this all the time. I think I've been deconstructing since I was old enough to think I just didn't know how to go about it. You know what I mean? I've been questioning these things ever since I was a child. And
what happened with me? Anytime I would question it, I would pray about it and then move on.
Yeah.
And then wait for that verse or something to come up again, pray about it, and then move on.
Yep.
And never get the wisdom. You know?
I would do that, I'd go listen to some apologetic and fall for their BS because I think that I wanted to. I had that cognitive dissonance going on,
And DC, I hate you're not old enough for Ernest Angley.
No, I know Catherine Coleman, though. Catherine Coleman was my Ernest Angley, probably.
Ernest Angley is still around somewhere, by the way. So if you ever want,
that is insane.
You could go look him up because, to my knowledge, he's still alive and he's still out there doing his thing. Okay.
Have you guys really never heard of Catherine Coleman either, though?
Nope.
No.
So that's so weird. We were on like different veins of Christianity. We must have been, and it's so weird. Like, how many Christian channels are there? Like, what channel was he on with you guys?
Back in our days, they were on like.
We only had 5 channels.
Oh, that's what I was saying. Like, how many?
We had ABC, NBC, CBS,
PBS,
Fox, and then an independent one.
Yeah.
We didn't have much to choose from.
We really did it.
But it was like all stacked with preachers.
On Sundays.
On Sundays it would be like
okay.
Robert Schuller, Ernest Angley. I don't remember who else, but those were 2. Oral Roberts.
I know Oral Roberts.
I actually got saved by watching Oral Roberts.
Oh no!
I was bored. I was like 12 years old. I was bored, and they had back then, DC. They didn't have closed caption. So my wife is deaf, by the way. So Crystal, I didn't take any offense. I knew what you were doing there.
Okay. Thank you. I was not making fun of somebody who really is, has a speech impediment or is deaf. That is the fake people.
I knew where it was coming from. Yeah, so down on the bottom corner, they would have a little sign language interpreter, and that fascinated me, so I just started watching.
Yeah, they did. I forgotten all about that. They did do that. He also would bring up people who were like, couldn't walk or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff like that. And then they would pull those crutches away, and the man would start dancing around. So, because of these shows, they really affected me and my comedy as a child. I don't know how many of you have ever been to Knott's Berry Farm out here in California. Knott's Berry Farm has a train that would go around, I think it's Knott's Berry Farm. Might have been Disneyland. Disneyland also has a train that goes around, but I think this one was at Knott's Berry Farm. Anyway, me and my sister found an abandoned rental wheelchair. And it was abandoned. It was not like sitting where you would put it if you were if you were putting it away or if you were waiting on a ride. It was just kind of sitting out in the middle of anywhere. So I got in it and my sister started pushing me around and I was pretending that I couldn't talk or do anything. Like I was just a little vegetable child or whatever. So I was pretending I was that. And my sister took me and put me in the middle of the train tracks and left me there. And I just sat there and I kind of... I was a horrible child. I just sat there acting like I couldn't do anything about this, right? And then the train starts coming. And I got up and pushed the wheelchair out of the way and said, I'm healed. Praise Jesus, I'm healed. And
Yeah.
my mom hid and pretended she was not related to us at that point in time. But my sister and I laughed for
That's
years
funny.
about that.
I was working in the mall and I saw someone pushing a wheelchair and I was like, it's a miracle! And I just started yelling that out.
We're just
Yeah, it's so funny.
Okay, I remember being 8 and realized the bishop was lying to me in mid-sentence. Oh, really? I would love to know more about that. Okay. Do you guys want to go on to 16 or should we call it a day? It's up to you guys.
I've got to attend class at 2.
I don't know. In like 15 minutes.
16 getting into. Oh, it is almost 2 then.
Why don't we?
Yeah, I'll probably have to go at 2 as well.
Why don't we go ahead and call it today, and we'll pick up on 16 next week. You guys, thank you so much for being here. Everybody in chat, thank you for being here. Eve and Celsius and everybody over on YouTube. I can't see who all's over there, but thank you for joining me on YouTube this morning. And look, there's Possum Eye Joe on Twitch. Hey, Aaron, what's up? Oh, thank you for the hat, you guys. Thank you so much. We're going to pick up on chapter 16 next Wednesday. I think I'll start around 10 a.m. because 9 a.m. just doesn't work for me. So we're in Exodus 16 next week. Join me tomorrow night with Joyful Apostate for our usual debates. We will both be off next week. I have surgery and he's taking the week off. Just to, take a little time away from it. And Friday, I will be live right here at 4 p.m. Pacific time with Cyber Deconstruction with Decon Q&A with CrystalJae. So make sure you're following all of my panelists. And thank you so much. Again, I will see you around the mean streets of TikTok. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, everyone.
Y'all later.